World's most expensive car. Man, peep the slang. Earlier this week, Rolls-Royce unveiled its first coach building project in a long time and the first in a series of three nautically based commissions. It's called Boattail, and it's an outrageous, gorgeous, and painfully expensive vehicle that's already secured the title of the most expensive new car in the world. Peep the slang. Mm. Sky blue. Keep the swing. Given its 20 million, 28.4 million price tag, Boattail sure is expensive. It beats previous record holders like the Bugatti Fortuna Dior 16.5 million, 20.2 million, and the Rolls-Royce 2017 coach built Swept Tail 10 million, 14.2 million, and for the time being is holding on to that number one spot. The Boattail is not just the priciest new car in the world and the next step in bespoke for Rolls-Royce, but also a true engineering wonder. It finds inspiration in nautical designs and is meant to be more than just a means to a destination, but the destination itself through the inclusion of a stunning picnic set in the rear, which deploys at the touch of a button. This sounds gosh in writing, so think of it as a picnic set that took 4 years and 28 million to bring into reality to be enjoyed on the Côte d'Azur. So this brings the question, who commissioned such a vehicle? Rolls-Royce for one would only say that the patrons are a powerful couple known worldwide, both for their work and their art creation. Their desire was to create a response to a life of hard work, success achieved, and celebration required. The Marquis said earlier this week, the Rolls-Royce boat tail should be joyful, a celebratory car to enjoy with their family. The same release noted that blue was a favorite color for the two patrons, as was a shared love of fine champagne. They liked their champagne to be cooled down exactly to 6 degrees Celsius, which led to the incorporation of a fridge in Boattail that did just that with extreme accuracy. Industry reports are naming this powerful couple as Jay-Z and Beyonce based on the tidbits offered by Rolls-Royce above. The description matches. They're both passionate about boats, love champagne, and have an outspoken adoration for everything blue ever since their daughter Blue Ivy was born. It's thought this fantastic car has been commissioned by Beyonce and Jay-Z with all its detailing matching their favorite things. A Spy tells Telegraph Rolls-Royce will not comment on the report. Most importantly, though, with a combined network of 1.9 billion, Jay and Bay are wealthy enough to afford to spend a fortune on a bespoke car. They'll probably take picnicking once. And peep the slang. Check the video.
So this articulates by itself. It does, yes, yeah. So and I just press this. Okay.
Mm-mm.
the unique thing about this, good morning, sir, is that this is unfolding in actual real time, and I'm yet to, oh my god, see this car. Crikey. It's huge. Where do you begin with this?
Kindly meet the Rolls-Royce boat tail.
It's called the boat tail.
It is, yes. All will become clear as we go through the car, but a modern interpretation of the historic boat tail body style.
I mean, it's quite literally a rowed yacht, isn't it?
It's certainly a sort of
unbelievable. How long have you been working on this for?
It's been sort of 4 years since the first client discussions, let's say.
Okay.
I mean, you know the brand very, very well, and we proudly stand behind a commission model. That is to say that the end result is very much guided by the client in terms of definition, and we don't necessarily always know where that's going to take us. And in this instance, we have arrived at this as the conclusion of 4 years of work and 4 years of, I have to say, fantastic curation with some marvelous clients of ours.
Did this start at a similar time to Sweptail, or did it come off the back of that project?
It was, let's say, Sweptail somehow, I think, works almost as a catalyst in the sense that Sweptail also equally born out of this notion that we work to a commission model. But I think on revealing Sweptail, everybody almost understood a new watermark in terms of where you can progress to. And that, I think it's fair to say, stimulated a level of imagination within our client base, and we like to think that all of our clients are extraordinary, but somehow within that group exists individuals who seek so much more than just the motor cars that we produce, and they seek that opportunity to curate and to commission, and that was really the start point for the preliminary discussions and the preliminary designs that led us in the direction of this wonderful motor car.
How long is this thing?
It's just over 5.7 meters, so as I mentioned, sort of generous. But hopefully, as you can recognise, and it's something we really did labour over, is that it's really the proportion and the scale that does the talking. That's where this sort of sense of impact and almost demonstration of the kind of presence of the concept comes across. But the detail, in particularly the surface treatment, it's very reduced, it's pared back, it's simplified. And we're very conscious, especially in this space, that cars are almost sort of defined by this metric of more is more. There's more differentiation, it's kind of hyper characterization. Whereas we really wanted to exercise almost a newfound level of restraint, and you can see just the cleanliness of the surfaces, the purity of the lines, and also the fidelity of the form. I mean, remarkably, the car is all fashioned from sheet aluminium. It's hand formed, and that allows us to do amazing things, things that we would never normally be allowed to achieve through industrialized techniques. So you can just see the general clarity of line and surface and precision.
It's incredibly smooth, isn't it?
It's really
incredibly smooth.
Really is. Unfortunately, a lot of modern design is littered with almost superfluous detail. And we really wanted to break away from that. Actually, I think you sit in front of the most progressive elements to the overall concept, and that's of course the treatment of our iconic Pantheon grille. The first time ever, it's not this sort of applique trophy applied to the front of the car. It's really deconstructed into its component elements to inform not just the structure but the visual representation at the front of the car, and the contrast colour waterfalling over beautifully into the grille space itself, and even the atrium of our Pantheon grille is sort of softened to kind of lessen the formality. We very much want the car to be an owner-driver's concept, and I think it's the grille, especially the treatment of the grille, that really demonstrates that in a very clear way.
When a client comes to you with that, why do you start with this? Because it seems like, so am I right in thinking it's everything about this bespoke from ground up?
Absolutely, yes.
So this isn't a shared chassis or anything like that?
The chassis is derived from our aluminium architecture, and of course, as you can tell by way of the scale, it has a lot of similarities with the Phantom lineage, and there are some componentry, particularly on the interior, that is very obviously recognisable for good reason from the main portfolio. But the exterior form, as you can see it here, is completely unique. And every single body panel and a lot of the complexity that we'll get into, especially at the rear end, has all been designed and developed uniquely for this concept for only 3 cars, which is, you know,
Wow.
really, really astounding.
I guess other than on Black Badge, I don't necessarily associate carbon fibre heavily with Rolls-Royce. To see this massive section here that's basically forged out of carbon is stunning.
But for very good reasons, you know, it's actually for its structural rigidity, particularly in this rear area. It actually defines this whole upper structure of the rear of the car, and also then provides the basis for some of this complex movements. The pannier, we describe this area as almost the rear hosting area, and there's a lovely link also back to the personality of the clients, in the sense that we were very fortunate through the development process to spend quite a lot of time in their company, and they were just the most generous hosts. You know, they're just wonderful, wonderful people to spend time with, and we really felt that spirit should somehow live in the car, and almost that we always think, for me at least, Rolls-Royce, in terms of its sensibility, I think it's a typically British quality, that it's almost, it's there to serve, you know, it's there to very, very respectfully, very dutifully fulfill the requirements of its owner. And we wanted the car to almost host you here at the rear. So subtle touches, and again, credit to the phenomenal engineers that we work with, where it's not simply kind of utilitarian provisioning. This really offers itself to you. So the butterfly mechanism, the lids that rotate towards center line, the fact that the panniers then create this inclination so they rotate up to a 15-degree angle. That subtle difference, just as if it's sort of offering itself to you. And even these beautiful picnic tables, you know, they rotate round, so they move from this sort of flush-fitted condition here.
That is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
It really is. It's a beautiful thing to use. You know, it's lovely weighting, and again, just a real demonstration of ingenuity.
What is quite amazing is its overall profile. Super simple, and as soon as you start to look at it, the amount of detail in it is amazing. I'm seeing a blue wheel.
You are, yes. It's a technical wheel.
So it's got a contrasting blue fibre running through the actual carbon wheel itself.
Indeed, yes. Yeah. And moreover, we actually also extended to these beautiful stools, which we again created from the ground up.
I've just noticed that these are carbon stools. If I'd known that, I would have taken a few steps back before I wandered around the car.
Yes, yeah. Training as an automotive designer, I never thought I'd find myself penning a stool. But it's amazing. And here we worked with an Italian furniture maker to create this unique interlocking clamshell design, to create this slimline package that allows you to stow it underneath the
I love this twisted. Twist in the carbon is stunning. Really and small details, just, I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but it's little, I mean, everything feels built and beautiful, you know. It's
really
gorgeous, gorgeous thing.
The most astounding thing for me with this project really is that it exists. You know, in this day and age, with the general consumption trends that we experience, you know, for not just a mark, but also for customers to impart with so much patience, so much trust, and so much encouragement for us to create something extraordinary, but for us to have the latitude to pen the car that we believe projects the modernity of the brand, you know, and really moves it on. It's not a retrospective fulfillment of creating something unique. It's really about progress, and you could describe it almost as modern patronage. You know, it's really about commissioning the next chapter for this great brand. And then, as your eye wanders onto the interior, you can see again with the exterior this sort of reduced pared back feeling, really allowing the beauty of the materials to do the storytelling. Even the cockpit fascia is relatively simplified. All the technology that we could disguise and remove distraction from has been placed behind, you know, lovely surfaces. And then the centerpiece is a bespoke timepiece.
I was going to say run maker.
Yes. The tale behind that is almost as extraordinary as the car itself. But the client is, of course, a great aficionado of timepieces and, you know, individually commissioned timepieces, and wanted to create something unique for this car to bring together in his mind his two passions, Rolls-Royce and timekeeping, you know, horology as a discipline. And we worked with Bouvet, the Swiss watch manufacturer, to complete, to our minds, the first ever tourbillon movement applied directly into a car.
So that's embedded into it, as opposed to a removable.
Well, it is actually removable.
There's 3 examples of this being produced. How individual is each one? Does each one have as much of a unique story?
Very much so, yeah. So the only similarity between the three cars is the body style. We wanted to create almost, you could describe it as a sort of critical mass of more than a one-off in the boat tail body style to really, almost qualify it as a modern interpretation. And that's really where the similarity ends. So all of the detailing, the materiality, the colours, the appointment in the rear varies considerably from one car to the next.
Right, okay.
But as you see here standing at the rear with this wonderful symmetry, so on this side is provision for eating. Even things like, as I open here, you can see the Christophe cutlery. So we worked with Christophe in Paris to create a unique cutlery set. It's inscribed with the car's name in here, and also the crockery itself. And then you can see the chilled food containers inside here, the non-chilled food containers here, salt and pepper grinders, not shakers, as we were reminded when we made that blunder with one of the clients. And they described, have you ever been to a Michelin-star restaurant and used a shaker? Yes. Noted. And I think this is the marvel really for me, because the ingenuity, the fascination, and the engineering that is going into this purely informed by the notion of hosting.
Right. Yes.
And nothing more. It's not about performance. It's not about any of these other typical qualifications of engineering achievement. It's really just a beautiful, beautiful thing to use. And this, talking about the viability of the car, this has all been high-speed tested. So believe it or not, this, with all of its provisions, has been around Millbrook several times. Yeah.
So you've sent this round Millbrook, full settle in the back.
Yes, yeah, just to make sure there was no noise, vibrations, and they even had to make some subtle adjustments to some of this configuration. And then, yes, talking about sort of accomplishment, the parasol, and not just any parasol, one that we designed and developed from the ground upwards, specifically for this application. So it deploys out of this sleeve in the centre here, that has that cap. Again, you can see just the quality of execution.
So has there been any enhancements to engine, or is that taken from existing family, translated into this?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's from the Phantom. That's the only ingredient that's unchanged, because it's not what characterises the car.
Yeah.
And let's also face it, the client was extremely happy with the way
I was going to say, it's not like it needs changing. Really, when you build a car like this with Rolls-Royce, the client is becoming part of the company's history. It's such a significant car to add to, it's amazing, really.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think in commissioning a coach build Rolls-Royce, you mark your place almost in the legacy of the brand. And it's interesting, we often reflect in the studio that when we talk about historic Rolls-Royces, we often talk more so about the personalities of the owners and the choices of their commissions, more so than we do the cars. And you compare that to maybe I'm biased if it's a sports car manufacturer, so forth. It's more about the accomplishments of the car.
Yes.
And I think that's an interesting part of the Rolls-Royce story that somehow makes us unique.
Slang.